In order to repeatedly execute blocks of code, we have another type of statements in the system, loops. One of them is for next statement. In order to look at this statement, I'm gonna add some variable and double click on this statement, and let's add one more variable. This loop has been prepared by the system, and it said that the value of the I variable changes from 1 to 5 by one step on each loop iteration. And what that means is, if we run it by using F8 key, we can see that this loop is iterated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times and ends. To see this process more clearly, let's assign I value to the variable 2 and run it again. And we can see I takes different values from 1 to 5, and this number shows what iteration we're on. And when it hits 5, then this loop ends. We can use variables instead of these numbers. For example, I'm gonna put variable 1 here in order to specify how many times this loop should be done. As we can see, a value of the variable 1 is 10. So if we run by using F8 key, we can see that now this loop is done 10 times. And we can also paste into the body of this loop as many variables as we want and use loop index for different purposes. And we'll talk about later how this variable can be used. We can also exit this loop before it's finished by using simple if statement. Let's double click on this statement and set a condition. For example, if variable 2 equals 6, then it will exit this loop. Now we should use this exit for statement. We no longer need these variables. So our loop looks like this. Let's run it. And as we can see, this loop is iterated 6 times. When it hits 6, it comes in this condition and then breaks out of this loop. In other words, under a certain condition, we can exit the loop before it's finished, and we can also specify the number of steps between loop iterations. For example, if we step it up by 2 and execute, we can see that it equals 1 at first, then 3, 5, and so on, depending on how many times this loop can be done. And we have one more type of statement in the system, the loop. Let's double click on it. In this case, the loop will keep running as long as the condition which comes after the word while is true. Now let's assign the value 100 to the variable 1, move it up and set a condition. Let's loop keep running while variable 1 is less than 500. And now let's increment the value of the variable 1 inside the loop. So I'm gonna add for example, 100 to the variable 1. Let's add one more variable and execute by using F8 key. As we can see here, it came in this loop because 100 is less than 500, then it incremented by 100 and become 200, and this loop will iterate until it exceeds 500, and then it will exit this loop. We can also break out of this loop before it's finished. So let's use if statement again and set a certain condition. For example, if variable 1 equals 300, let's exit this loop. So we should use this exit till statement like this. And if we execute this loop, we can see that it's iterated 2 times until it hits 300 and then exits this loop.